Alright, so in this tutorial is going to be about the bow and arrow system, and let's go for it. So first I'm going to show you what I have on my blueprint. This is my character's blueprint. I don't have nothing here, it's just the default code. I've added the sprint, slow motion, you don't need to worry about these. And here on my animation blueprint, I have this default code here, nothing much. And here is my animation graph. I have the default locomotion, pretty simple, pretty basic. So I have these animations here of the character holding the bow, aiming, and I also have animations for the bow. I also have blank spaces where I will teach you later how you can do them. And here I have the models. Here I have the quiver. Here I have the bow. And here's the arrow. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to go to the models. You're going to click here on the skeletal mesh, right click. You're going to go to asset actions and create a blueprint using this. You're going to name it to be BP bow and select a place where you should place that blueprint. And here's my BP bow. I don't need to create one because I already have here, so I'm gonna use this one here. And you're going to add an arrow, as I already have here. You're gonna go to add and type here arrow, and you're going to place this arrow in this position here. So mine, it's like this. It's kind of tilted, I know, but that's the way it worked for me. If I do like this, you're gonna see that it also changes the direction that my arrows come out. So as you can see, when I shoot up, it goes down. So if I do the opposite direction, then you're gonna get the opposite effect side. So it's going to go up like crazy. So we're gonna tweak the settings if we need to. We're going to use the rotation and location for us to be shooting the arrows. So as I already have my arrow here, I'm just going to leave it like that. It's rotated at 85 degrees on the Z-yaw. That's everything you got to do here. Here on the event graph, I didn't do anything. So now let's go to the arrow. For the arrow, I did the same thing. I just go to asset actions, create a blueprint using this. You're gonna have this arrow projectile here, blueprint. And for this, I just set a emissive material to be added on this. And I go on here, add, and I add a projectile movement component. And here it is, the projectile movement. As our arrow is going to be spawned and also is going to have a velocity, we need to set the initial speed and the max speed to be 4000. 4000 is a good value for, in my case, it works perfectly fine. So you just need to change the settings here. For you, it's going to be 0. So you can change that to 4000. And there is other values here. I didn't change much. If you go on the arrow, you press on here and scroll down to the bottom here, you see that I've added a uncomponent hit. So for you, there is going to be like a plus sign here. So you click on that and it's going to generate this node for you. So here I get a sequence. The sequence here, I add a print string with the written hit. I add a delay. I do once. I set simulate physics to be off because when I shoot an arrow, for example, the character is here, and then I shoot the arrow is going to be here. I don't want the arrow to be simulated. I want the arrow to turn off the simulation of physics when it touches the ground. So the arrow is going to be static on the ground as soon as it touches the ground. So I set the simulation to off, and I also play the arrow hit Q which is this one right here. The hit sound effect of the arrow. And that's it. So I do this delay is because I do this delay because I only want to set the simulate physics once. Another thing that you need to do on your arrow, the physics has to be simulated. So what I did was to set the mass of 100 kilograms. I chose it to be custom, collision enabled query and physics. And I block everything here. So that's it. And if you want to check if your arrow has collision, you can go to the static mesh, double click on this. And as you can see here, if you click here on the convex decomposition, click on apply, the game, it generates the collision for you. So you don't need to do anything. So you can just save and test it in the world to see if it has collision. Just drag and drop. And that's everything you got to do on the arrow blueprint. Now let's go for the quiver. The quiver is going to be attached on the character hip. So let's do that right now. For example, it's going to be more or less right here. So for us to attach the quiver to the character, we need to go to the skeletal mesh. So I'm going to double click on the skeletal mesh here. And I'm going to go to the skeleton. There we go. I already have attached here, but if you don't have nothing attached yet, don't worry. For us to be able to place the quiver, you need to create a socket. So how you can do that? Basically, I think this quiver is attached to the spine too. I think it's a good location of the bone where you have the locomotion of the character, like this. And if you want to add a new socket, you can just right click on the spine too. We're going to go to add socket. And this is the new socket that you've added. And you can rename that socket to be, I don't know, Quiver. Let's name it to be spine 02 Quiver. And then you can right click on that, add preview asset, and you can add the quiver. Here's the quiver. You can adjust the location of it and see which location you want the quiver to be at. So basically I placed the quiver right here, and I'm going to delete it because I don't need it. I'm going to delete this socket. As you can see, I added the quiver to be right here. For adding the bow, we can of course create a new socket again. And let me see if I have, yeah, it's on the same spine too. So we're gonna right click on the spine too, add a socket, and then it's good, the socket is going to be here. And then we're going to right click, add preview asset, and type bow. And we're going to select SK bow, skeletal mesh bow. And the bow is going to be positioned here on the back, as I have mine here. I have another bow. I'm going to teach you how you can place that as well. So I'm going to preview the animation and type equip bow. It's called in place equip, like this. And as you can see, as soon as the character places his hand on the back, that's the time where I want to pick up the bow. So the location of the bow in the hand and the location of the bow on the back has to match. So we can perfectly pick up the bow when we are standing still. Now for placing the bow on the hand, I'm going to preview the animation and get the bow aim. This animation is perfect. Now we're going to get the hand left, the left hand. And I'm going to add a socket. This socket is going to be called bow. And I'm going to add the preview asset, and it's going to be bow I'm going to select my bow. That's it. And I'm going to rotate it. And it's going to be placed like this. So you can adjust the location, rotation, whatever it's better for you. So you're gonna place two bows here, one on the hand and one on the back, all right? And you're going to save. I think that's everything you gotta do here. And also for the arrow, I'm gonna teach you how you can attach the arrow in the back, inside the quiver as well. Going back to the third person character, I'm gonna attach some items on the character. First one is going to be the quiver. So I'm going to drag and drop to the third person character and attach it to the mesh. I'm going to choose the parrot socket to be just type quiver. I don't think I have. I think I've named it pocket because it's basically a pocket. Yeah, so it's going to be perfectly placed in here. And now I want to add the arrow in here. So I'm gonna go to the arrow. So I just need the visual arrow, which is the SM arrow. So I'm going to drag and drop there. Drag it to the mesh. And adjust it to be appropriate. There we go. Now if you want to, I like the emissive material, so I'm going to choose the emissive material that I've made. If you want to learn how to make the emissive material, it's like this. On the empty space, I hold the 3 key and I press the left mouse button. So it's going to generate this 3 vector of colors, and you can change the constant here to be red. And then you can drag this to a multiply and type 55 and connect the nodes there to the base color and the emissive. It's very easy. Yeah, let's test it out to see if it's working. All right, it's working. If you want, you can add multiple arrows here, as you like. So now let's add the bow. I'm going to add the bow skeletal mesh, third person character mesh, SK bow. The bow is going to be also a visual mesh, which is not going to act in the world as the arrow. The arrow is static and it's going to be there forever. The quiver is also a visual mesh that we can it's going to be attached to the character. It's not going to move. And this bow here, I'm going to go to the parent socket and type bow and choose the socket that I've created. I'm going to reset the location rotation and it's going to be here. I'm going to compile, save, and press play to see if it's working. All right, for me it's fine. Now I'm going to want to pick up the bow. How I can do that? I'm going to choose the letter F. When I press F, I'm going to want to play a montage, and this montage is going to show it's going to play the animation of the character picking up the bow on his back. I'm going to get the mesh. I'm going to drag and drop the mesh, and the montage that I'm going to use is going to be bow in place equip montage. It's going to be this one right here, in place equip. So you just, if you have the animation, you can just create animation montage. I have mine here. It's just a simple montage. And the special thing about this montage that it has a notify window. How you can add this? You can right click, add notify state, and montage notify window. So you can choose the begin and end points, where this begin and end points are going to use for executing these pins here. So I chose mine to be here on the 1.82, 1 second and 82 milliseconds. So it's basically where the character matches the first bow that it's in his hand to the bow that is in his back. So as soon as he touches it, as soon as the bow matches with the back, the first bow matches with the second, then we're going to get the begin. And the endpoint, it doesn't matter, you can let it here. And for notify begin is where the character touches his hand on the back. I'm going to print a string just to know that the character is doing that action. So I'm going to say bow equipped. Bow equipped. All right, so let's go to the third person map, and I'm going to press F, and the character is going to pick up the bow. As you can see on the top left corner, it says bow equipped. And that's very good. Now what I want to do, I want to set the visibility of the bow that is already attached on his back. I want to set the visibility of that bow to off. So set visibility to off. As soon as the character touches his hand on the back. And I want to attach this bow here, the bow inside the models. I want to attach, let me just delete this because I don't need it. I want to attach this bow here on his back. Because this bow, this blueprint has the arrow that I need for serving as a reference point of where the arrow should come out and in what rotation it should come out. I'm going to drag and drop the BP bow to the world. It doesn't have to be like visible to the character, it can be anywhere in the world. I'm going to let it down there. I'm gonna want to reference that bow that is in the world. So I'm going to get all actors of a class, and I want to get the BP bow. I'm going to get a copy of the reference. I'm going to get the reference and call this variable to be BP underscore bow. Now I have the reference. Now I can do many things with this reference here. The first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm going to get the reference and say attach actor to component. All right. And if you go back to see which socket we named the bow that is on his first hand, on the left hand, we can go here on the weapon L. This is the socket name that I have for placing the bow on his left hand. So I'm going to copy the name. You can right click, copy selected sockets, and you can place that in here. Let me see. You can also double click and then copy it. and paste here on the socket name. So the BP bow is going to be on the target, and on the parent, which is us, I'm going to drag and drop the mesh and put that in there. Now the location rule is going to be snap to target, and compile, save. I press F. The bow is going to be invisible, and then yeah. Okay, that's nice. So what it's basically doing, it's going to disable the visibility of this arrow here as soon as the character touches his back, and it's going to grab this here. It's going to attach this blueprint to the hand of the character. So basically, this is how it works. All right, so next step is going to be about creating a variable called has equipped bow. I'm going to set that to true. And I also want to make the visibility of the arrow to be set to be true. But first, I want to create a socket. You're going to want to create a socket of the arrow. So you're going to type here hand R, and you're going to add preview asset and type here arrow, and you're going to add an arrow where it's going to be placed like this on this location and rotation of the hand. I already have mine here. It's called hand R arrow. So I'm going to basically drag and drop. I'm going to copy and paste this, the same arrow that is inside the quiver, and it's going to be arrow in hand. The visibility is going to be off by default, and I'm going to drag and drop this and set visibility to be off. And as soon as display montage is executed, then it's going to set the visibility to be off, to be on. So so the arrow visibility is off by default, but when we play the montage, then this arrow in hand is going to be visible for us. So when you play the game now, as soon as you press the F, then the arrow is going to be visible in the world. So the character can so the character is going to have the arrow visible with the bow. But we need to attach this arrow in hand to the socket that I've created. So let's do that right now. Let's type here arrow and reset the location and scale. Compile, save, and let's try it out again. So now the location of the arrow is going to be in my hand. All right. Next step. So this is going to be the code for picking up the bow. Now this is the begin play. It's going to reference the bow. So now we're going to learn how to aim. So I'm going to create a comment here called aim. I'm going to expand this a little bit. I'm going to select the color, show bubble when zoomed, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to find the right mouse button. As soon as we click on this button, I want my character to behave differently when we move with the keys W, A, S, and D. So I'm going to drag and drop my character movement, set orient rotation, and also use controller desired rotation. going to duplicate this. So I'm going to show you really quick what this looks like. So when I aim, the character is going to behave like this. I have the full control of the character like this, and then when I right click, then I want to aim my character like this. But as you can see, my character does not like rotate too fast in order for the character to be aiming. I think we want a better response time when we rotate like this. You see that it delays a little bit when we are rotating. So to fix that, we're going to drag and drop out of this and set the rotation rate to the both of them. And here the default rotation rate is 500. If you want to check your default rotation rate, you can go to the character movement and type here rotation rate, and it's 500 for me. I'm going to set this 500 because when we release, we want to disable everything. So I want to get to the default rotation rate. And for aiming, I want to have my rotation rate set to be 1200. And okay, I have the full control of the character when I aim. Now my character rotates a little bit more faster, twice faster than usual, so I can have a better precision when aiming. And then when I release, I get my normal rotation rate again. So that's very good. I'm going to collapse this to a macro. So I'm going to select everything, collapse to macro, and I'm going to name this macro to be set rotation macro. So I'm going to connect the pins here for the continuation of the code. Now I'm gonna get this to a sequence, and now we're going to play the bow animation. But for that, we're going to get the reference of the bow. We're going to get skbow, the mesh, get mesh. Yes, it's sk, or you can just play animation. So you're gonna get the skeletal mesh, and here I'm going to get the bow being pulled animation. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So that looks like this. This is the bow being pulled. I set the rate scale to be true because it's too much slow for the animation I have. So I set it to be true here. By default it is 1. So it's going to be this one here. I'm going to then 1. I'm going to place that in here. And I'm going to copy and paste, duplicate display animation. Okay, I'm going to collapse everything to a macro and say play bow animation. And select it here. And here on the inputs, I'm going to drag and drop the play animation to be here. And bow, I'm going to write bow pull on the inputs and bow idle. And here on the play animation, I'm going to choose bow idle. Bow idle. Let me see. The bow idle is this one. Going back here, I'm gonna want to play a sound effect when the bow is being pulled. So I'm going to play sound 2D. And I'm going to choose my sound cue that I've made. Sound, it's actually a sound wave. I didn't make a cue for it. I'm going to choose that. And it's going to have that sound. I don't know if you can hear it. And finally, we're going to place this to the outputs like this. So for the volume multiplier, it's going to be 0.05. Now I'm going to collapse everything to a node, and I'm going to set rotation and play animation. So this is going to be called set rotation and play animation. And this is going to be all in here. Now I want to create a variable called isAiming and set only this one here to be true, so that we know that we are aiming. We're going to use this variable later for the animation blueprint, so that's why we need it. Now we're going to, after aiming, we want to set the camera to be focused on the character, but I'm going to do this later because it takes a long time. It takes a lot of time. Now we can go to the animation blueprint to make the character to aim. Here I have the default locomotion. I'm going to create a new state for our bow and arrow system. I'm going to create a new state machine, and it's going to be called bow arrow. It's going to go to a blend poses by bool. So what this blend poses by bool does is, depending on what value or condition we have here, if it's true or false, we're going to switch between state machines. So if it's false, whatever value here is false, then we're going to execute the normal state machine that we have, the normal locomotion of walk, run, jump, so ever. And if it's true, then we're going to execute the state machine here on the top. We're going to make a new one for our bow and arrow system right now. For the true blend time, we're going to choose to be .3. This is the time where it takes to blend between the two state machines. I'm going to just close some of these tabs here. It's kind of laggy. Now for the bow arrow, the first animation that we're going to drag and drop is the bow aim idle. This animation right here. I'm going to connect it to there from the entry. I'm going to unpin this loop animation. I don't want the animation to loop. And before that, I want to connect a value here. I need to. So I'm just going to compile, save, to remove the arrow that we have before. And I want to get the variable that is going to be here. I want to go to the event graph. As you can see, I have nothing here, just the default code that comes with the Unreal Engine. I want to get then 3, then 2 here, and get is valid. That is going to check if our character is in the world, is valid. And I'm going to get the begin blueprint event blueprint begin play. This is going to be executed as soon as we play in the world, as we run the game. And it's going to, we're going to cast to our third person character. So I'm going to promote this to a variable. In the object here, I'm going to get the player character. And that's it. I'm going to compile, save, and I'm going to drag and drop the third person character. If you want, you can name this to be character reference by an option, character reference. And here you can get all the animation, all the variables that is inside here. And I want to get the has equipped bow. So I'm going to get has equipped bow, and I'm going to promote it to a variable. And compile, save, going back to the animation graph, the active value here, I'm going to drag and drop has equipped bow to there, and boom. So as soon as we equip the bow, then it's going to change from default state machine here, from the default locomotion, which is walk run normally, to the bow and arrow state machine. We can test it out to see if it's working. Now, if you press play here, I'm going to put it like this. If you want to simulate, you can go on this arrow here, click on here, and select the one that has a quote, has this little parenthesis here saying spawned. So you can simulate what's going on in the code in real time. So first, to know if our code is working right, we can press the F here. It's working fine. It's playing the idle animation. I want to use the bow idle 1. This is the bow idle 1. And I'm going to connect that to the output animation pose. Let's see if it's working. It works fine. Now if I hold the right mouse button, the character strafes. And also, as you can see, when I hold the right mouse button, the bow is pulled. Alright, so now let's continue our code. Now we're going to get the blend poses by bool. On the turbulent time, I'm going to get the dot 3. And we're gonna want to know if the character is aiming or not. So on the character reference, I'm going to get is aiming and promote it to a variable. So if the character is aiming, then we're gonna want to go from the false pose, which is the bow idle, to the bow aim idle pose. I think -1 is the value that you need, because it's going to go from idle, bow idle, to bow aiming. So we need this one here. Now it's going to, now from here, bow aim idle, we're going to get the layer the blend per bound. Now we're gonna need the lookup down bow idle, which is this one right here. So as you can see, when my character has the possibility to aim up and down, And as you can see here, it says minimal axis value, it's negative 45, and the maximum is positive 45. This is the angle degree that the character can't reach. So it has the limitation of how much of inclination the character can do. So for you to create this is pretty simple. You can just right click on an empty space, go to animation, blend space 1D, and you can select the skeleton that you're using. For me, it's the UE5. So I'm going to just say look up, down, test. And it's going to be like this. And here on the name, you can do vertical angle. And the minimum is going to be negative 45, positive 45. Grid division is 2. And weight speed is 0. So you're going to just drag and drop the animation from here to here. The down animation is going to be the negative 45. And when we are looking up, it's going to be 45. So yeah, I guess that's it. And we're going to browse to that blend space, drag and drop to here. Plug that into the blend poses. So remember, this is the base pose, the bow idle, and this is the other animation that we're going to blend between this one here to this one. So we're going to blend these two poses. Now for the vertical angle, we're going to have to find out, to calculate what's the angle that the character is currently aiming at. So for doing that, we're going to get the event tick. So we're going to find out what value we're getting when we look up and look down. So for the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get player camera manager. Out of the return value, we're going to get actor rotation. We're going to break the rotator. The white page tells us the up and down directions when you look up like this and down. And if you want to get the left and right sides, you can get this value here on the ZIA. This is going to tell you the angle that the player is currently moving the camera. Now I want to subtract this with the character rotation. And I'm going to split the structure pen. Do like this. I'm going to clamp angle because I want to limit the angle degrees for the values I want to get. Minimal angle degrees is going to be negative 45, and maximal angle degrees positive 45. I'm going to multiply this value because I want to get the inverse values of it, the opposite values. And I'm going to promote this to a variable. So this is going to be called vertical angle. And it's going to plug that in there. Now I'm going to want to print a shrink and see what values I'm getting. So here I get 0 because I'm aiming on the center, and if I go up, I get positive 45, and if I aim down, I get the negative 45. And now I want to go to the event graph of my animation blueprint. I'm going to get the vertical angle. I'm going to promote it to a variable. And now now I can use this vertical angle to plug that into here. All right, and this layer blend per bone, I'm going to add a array element. So this is the bone that is going to be blended, that is going to affect, it's going to apply the effect between the blend of these two animations. So I'm going to choose the spine 2. The blend depth is how much it affects. I'm going to choose 2. I'm going to plug that into triples, and that's it. Now I'm going to teach you how you can do the strafe bow aim. I have already the blend space here, so I'm going to show you how it looks like. And I had already made a tutorial about strafe system in the past video. So if you didn't watch, you can click on the card on the top right corner. So basically we have 8 directional sides, and here, as you can see on the bottom, I have the same idle animation, bow in place idle animation 1, bow in place idle animation 1, which is this one right here. So I have just drag and drop. I just drag and drop these animations to every single grid of this. And here on the middle, you add a bow walk forward animation, aim, bow walk forward aim. Here is bow walk forward 45 L aim. So you're gonna add this animation depending on what angle your character is going for. So if I'm moving forward and I'm holding the W. But what if I'm holding the W and I press the letter D? I'm gonna make my character to move forward, but diagonally in 45 degrees. So I have my bow walk animation forward 45 degrees, moving to the right. And if I move to the right, strafing, then I'm gonna have this animation here. I'm going to be strafing to the right. And here I'm going to go backwards diagonally, and here I'm going to go backwards. So the same thing happens here. And so on. And on this top here, there's only run animations. And that's basically how it's done. Here on the horizontal axis, you're gonna write direction, which is, this is the direction that the character is going to go for. The negative direction, the minimum, it's negative 180 degrees. And the maximum, it's going to go up to 180 degrees positive. And the grid division is 8, because we're moving 8 in 8 directional sides, which is forward, diagonal, blah, blah, blah. So we choose to be 8 because we're having 8 directional sides movement. Speed, the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 700. Now scrolling down here, I have the weight speed to be set to before and smoothing to be turned on. So you can get a smoother blend between the animations of walk, run. So that's it. I'm going to save it. I'm going to use, let me just close the tabs here. So now, going back to the animation graph, I'm going to get the strafe bow aim, the blend space that I created. I'm going to get the ground speed, plug that to the speed, and I'm going to get the direction. For calculating the direction, we're going to do this. After we set the ground speed, we're going to get the character. We're going to get actor rotation. We're going to calculate the direction, get the velocity, and promote the return value to a float variable, and it's going to be direction. That's the float variable name. Now compile, save, and now we know the direction that the character is going for. If you print this to a string, then we're gonna see what value we're getting. So it's better for you to understand what's going on. Let me just unplug this, and now you can see better what's going on. So here I'm moving -90, here is +90, moving forward is 0, moving backwards is -90, 180, and so on. So now that we know the direction, which direction we're going for, now we can plug the direction to the pin here, and now we can say save this cache, save this pose, and this is going to be strafe bow aim. So this is like promoting, and this is like using a variable that we're going to use inside our state machine. So this is now that we have the strafe bow animation, now we can go back to our bow arrow state machine, and we're going to create a new state, which is going to be called bow walk run / aim state. Now we're going to drag and drop from bow aim idle to here, and going forth and back. Let's drag and drop the ground speed. And if the ground speed is greater than 1, that means that we're moving. And if it's not, if the ground speed is less or equal than 1, then we're going to go from walking to idle. Now we're going to use the cached pose, which is strafe bow aim. We're going to blend poses by bool. And for the second step, which is I want to make my character to walk with the bow, because when I get my bow, my character does not have the animation to like walk and then walk holding the bow without aiming. So I'm going to, I already have the walk bow animation blend space here. You can make it on your own. This is a blend space 1D. We only use horizontal axis. And here I use the bow walk forward animation. Here and also on here is the same animation. And here I place the bow run forward at the speed of 274. And also here on the speed of 351. So the reason why I put this on the middle here, because I was getting some foot sliding issues where it's pretty common. So you can decide what you want to do in the project. Now the weight speed is going to be 2 because I want to have a nice smooth transition between walking and running. If I set that to be, for example, 0, where there's not going to be any effect of smoothing, then the character is going to be like very not smooth. So I'm going to choose this to be 2. So that's way better. And what else? Let me see. All right, I think that's everything. So just name it speed and set the maximum axis to be 700. Grid division is 4. There's nothing much complicated about this. And then you can just drag and drop this to the animation graph. And then you're going to use the ground speed to the speed. And you're going to plug that into false pose. And here I'm going to get the is aiming. And if my character is not aiming, then I want to run holding the bow using this blend space here. Then if my character is aiming, then this is going to be a true, and it's going to we're going to use this pose here of strafe bow animation, which is this blend space here. Yeah, I think that's everything. Now we gotta plug that in into the results and compile, save, and test it out. Also, the true blend the true blend time, I like it to set 0.3. It's a good value. But for this, I'm going to set 0.5. And let's see how that behaves. All right, now I'm walking. I'm idle. I press the right mouse button. It works. Now if I want to move, now I can. All right, let's go for the next step, which is to shoot when we are walking. So for doing that, we need to know that if we need to know when we shot. So for that, we need to create a right mouse button. We're going to choose a key for shooting. Sorry, it's the left mouse button. Because the right we use to aim, and the left mouse button is for shooting. For shooting, we need to know if our character is aiming, so we're gonna get a branch and get is aiming variable here. And if if we are aiming is true, then we're going to set the variable of shooting to true. I'm going to duplicate this and set it here. Also, when we release, we're not going to be shooting anymore. We're going to, out of this, we're going to spawn actor from class. It's going to be an arrow, our projectile, the blueprint that we created. Remember that we have to get the projectile movement, so click here on add and projectile, add this component here. And you're going to have these options here. Initial speed is going to be 4,000 and max speed is going to be 4,000 as well. And also remember the character movement. On the character movement, the default max walk speed I set to be 178. And for sprinting, when it's pressed, it's 355, and when it's released, it's going to go back to its default value, which is 178. All right, I guess that's everything. Now we're going to spawn actor projectile. Now the location and rotation of where this arrow projectile is going to launch, it's going to be on this location here where this arrow is at. So this arrow here, it's going to be, wait. So this arrow here is going to be spawned on this location where this blue arrow is. And for doing that, we're going to get our bow. Out of the bow, we're going to get arrow. Gonna get arrow, and we're going to get the location of it. So out of this, we're going to get socket location, and we're going to split this paw transform. Out of the return value, we're going to go to spot transform location. And here in the arrow, I'm going to get socket rotation. And spot transform location. This goes to spot transform location. And on the collision handling override, we're going to choose always spawn, ignore collisions. Compile, save. And we can collapse everything to a node if you want. Spawn location. So this is going to be the spawn location and rotation of the arrow. Now we're going to drag and drop our playable animation here. We're going to connect that to the bow idle. And we're going to play sound 2D. And we're going to play the bow shoot sound, which is this one right here. Now we're going to set simulate physics. We're going to add a retrievable delay and set simulate physics turned. Now we're going to simulate the physics here, and the duration of this is going to be 0.06, and I'm going to set visibility of the arrow in hand to off. All right, that looks nice. Now this is shoot. This is going to be the shoot action. Now for fixing bugs, we're going to add the retrievable delay once more. The duration is going to be 1.1. It's going to pass into a range. And it's going to get, we're going to get the is aiming. If it's still aiming, then we're going to play drag and drop the playable animation. And if it's true, then we're going to play the bow pull. And if it's false, we're going to play the bow idle animation. And yeah, I guess that's everything here. Now what we're going to do, we're going to play the bow, the act of the character to shoot the bow. To shoot using the bow. So we're going to get the bow shoot to aim. And it's basically this animation here. As you can see, I added a notify. You can add it too. So for adding a notify, you can just here where there is 1, you can follow that line and then right click on here, add notify, and here click on here on add the new notify. And then you can choose the name. Mine is pickup arrow notify. So I place this notify where the character is touching his back, where he's reaching for the arrow. So as soon as the character touches his back, closes his finger, and I want the character to pick up an arrow. So it's going to be added here. As soon as this animation is played, we want to execute event here. So let's type here pickup arrow notify event. This is an event is going to be triggered when we pick up an arrow. So I'm just going to print a string just to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go to the third person. So I'm going to go back to the bow arrow shoot, and I'm going to plug that in there, and going back. And here, from going to bow walk run to bow shoot, I'm going to drag and drop the is shooting, but I need to get it from my character reference. So I'm going to get is shooting, and I'm going to promote this to a variable, connect the pins, so don't forget about that. Compile, save, go back to the condition event. I'm going to drag and drop the is shooting. That's everything I got to do here. And from here, let me just check that out. From shoot walking. I'm just gonna play save just to show you what it looks like. So I'm gonna get my bow, and as soon as I shoot, my character, as you can see on the top left corner, it's printing hello. Every time my character picks up an arrow on his back. So everything that is inside here is going to be executed when the player gets a new arrow. So I'm going to get the character reference. I'm going to get arrow in hand, and I'm going to turn off its visibility. So I'm going to set visibility to off to on every time. So I'm just going to compile. Okay, shoot. There we go. All right. Save. Now I'm going to unloop this. I don't want it to be looping. And every time when this animation is played, as soon as this animation finishes playing, I want to go back to the bow arrow wall run. I want to go back to aiming. So as soon as the character finishes shooting, I want to go back to the aim pose. So I'm going to type here time remaining ratio, and I'm going to go less or equal than 0.1. Compile, save, and press play. Let's try it out. Yes, it works. Let's see. Shoot walking. Now I want to be able to shoot and also walk at the same time. So I'm going to get the use strafe bow, and I'm going to go layered blend per bone. I'm going to connect this to here. I'm going to add a new element, and it's going to be spine 0.1, and the blend depth is going to be 3. Compile. Let's test it out now. Yeah, it's working, but the arrow, it's not working for some reason. I think it's getting disabled. Let's see, find out why. After set simulate physics, we have to set is shooting to off. All right, now we need to shoot when we are idle. So I'm going to choose the animation of shoot idle. And it's going to be this one here. It's going to be the same. I'm going to disable the loop animation. You can do this. And on here, on this condition, you can drag and drop shooting to can enter position, and from bow shoot to bow aim idle, we can get Wait, I have to get this time remaining ratio. Bullshit. So I basically copy all this and then paste it here. All right, let's try it out. All right, so I fixed the problem that I was having before about the arrow not being launched, not having its initial velocity. So for those who want to fix this problem, I set the simulate physics to off. And on the third person character, I modified some code here. On the retrievable delay, I had the duration to be 0.08. And I'm going to delete this node here. So after we shoot, the arrow is going to play the sound. The bow idle animation is going to be played. It's going to play the sound, and we're going to have a recheckable delay. This delay here is going to be like half milliseconds. And after that, we're going to simulate the physics of the arrow. And we're going to set is shooting to false. We're going to set the visibility of the arrow in hand to off. And it's going to follow this code like this. Now we're going to learn how to make the focus. So when you aim, the camera gets near the character. So here on the aim, we're going to get the follow camera. And we're going to set location, set relative location. For changing the relative location, we're going to get a timeline. And here it's going to be named distance. So we're going to connect update to the set relative location. And aiming to play from start and reverse from end here. Let's double click on this, and we're going to click on this button here to track and add a vector track. So we're going to click here, add key to X, and then add key and value to all curves. Now the X value here is going to be minus 151, negative 151. On the Y is going to be 84. And on the Z, it's going to be 41. The length is going to be 0.65. I'm going to add one key here to the middle of the X, and I'm going to add auto. So we can have a nice curve like this. Here on the X, we're going to get minus 5. and on the Z it's minus 13, and on the Y it's 64. And I'm going to change the key interpolation for all of them. So let's compile, save, and let's go back to the event graph. And here on the new track, we're going to connect it to the new location and see how that works. All right, seems to be working fine. If you go to the viewport, I've changed some settings on the camera here. This is the settings that I'm using. For rotation, it's -21 for the Y pitch. The location is -151. On the X, on the Y it's 64, and on the Z it's 41. And if you click here on the camera boom, on the target arm length, I changed it to be 112. So whenever I press the right mouse button, we're going to play from start, and we're going to have a nice smooth transition of the camera, and all these values here are going to make the camera to be closer to the character. And then when we release, then we're going to reverse from the end, and that's going to reverse the camera, so it's not going to be near the character anymore, so it's going to be away from it. And that's how you do it. Now, if you want to make the arrow to bounce, then you don't need to set the simulate physics here, so you can just do the sound, or I think it's better for you to not do the sound. And you can unpin this of do once, and the arrow is going to bounce in the ground. Like this. And you can control how the projectile bounces, the friction, and everything through the settings here. And that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.